Our next speaker is taking us outside the box in a certain sense, because we've been talking about vehicles, we've been talking about technology, we've been talking about tyres, and the skills of our technicians and how all of that's going to develop. But our next speaker is actually going to talk to us about where the cars and the trucks and everything else are driving. The highways. So, most of you will have noticed, many of you might have even been stuck in a delay as a result of changes to our highways. But we thought it was important, actually, to get a strategic overview of where things are heading. So our next speaker, please welcome to the stage Mr. Paul Mcwilliam, the Capital Programme Operations Lead for Highways England.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to your conference. I thought it would be such a big audience, actually. I thought it would be a small little gathering, so I'm overjoyed to have such a big audience, and hopefully I can give you an insight into what we call now smart motorways. I suppose I better explain my title, because every time I do, or I talk to people and say, what does that involve? I come from an operational background. I was on-road team manager with the traffic officers, then an on-road operations manager. And as we developed our motorways, our designers and our engineers wanted to engage with people who actually operate it. Hence my title, and I now work with the people who are designing and building our roads. So I feed in from an operations perspective. And I'm feeding from what the emergency services have to say, what the recovery industry have to say, and what your trade has to say about how we're going to operate. So, how do we get to smart motorways? Well, years ago we used to widen our motorways. The problem with widening is that we need land. So to get the land we have to go to planning permission. This is before even a cone hits the ground. And it can take years to get the planning permission to widen a road. It's very costly as well to widen a road, and also time consuming. As you all know, austerity, we just don't have that type of money anymore, and we want to deliver the infrastructure as quickly as we can as well, but safely. So what do we start doing? First of all, within the smart motorways, we have what is called a controlled motorway. Those of you who've travelled on the M25 or on the M1 today, coming up from junction 6A up to junction 10, that's what we call a controlled motorway, where we use active traffic management. There's the red rim signs. It's got a hard shoulder. You don't drive on this part of the motorway. And we control the flow of traffic using the speed signs. There's a lot of people who believe there's an operator in a little tower somewhere slowing everybody down so the speed camera can catch them. I'm sure that's not what the case is. It basically, there's loops in the road, picking the speed of the traffic, and to save getting this concertina effect, what we try and do is get a smooth flow. It works the majority of the time, not all the time, because overcapacity or an incident can affect it. So that's what we call the control motorway. It's part of the smart motorway system. We then have this lovely thing called hard shoulder running. There's about 4 areas in the UK, or in England, sorry, that have hard shoulder running. One is 10 to 13 here on the M1. There's another section on 4 around the M4, M5, M42, M62. So this is where we instruct you to drive on the hard shoulder. There's a lot of safety goes on to check if the hard shoulder is clear before we instruct people to do it. What I would just like to point out as well, that once we instruct traffic to drive down the hard shoulder, automatically you get a 60 mile an hour. That's all to do with the safety case, that we have to slow the traffic down when we do it. It's about capacity, it's not about speed. One of my colleagues told me that it's a bit like putting a bigger pipe on your water system. It doesn't mean the water's going to go through quicker, it just means more is going to go through. And that's the case here. So we increase the capacity by opening the hard shoulder during peak periods, and then we close it when it's not required. And finally, where we are today, what we're building at the moment is what we call all-lane running. And this is a permanent conversion of the hard shoulder to a running lane. There's a huge programme now between now and 2020 where we'll be doing this, and here's a map showing what it's going to be looking like. Now I don't expect anybody to be able to see this, Even I can't read it from here or down there. But there is maps at the back of the room on the water table, if you want to take them away, showing you what we're doing between now and 2020. It says one's at construction, one's at complete, and there's a huge programme to do this up and down the UK. Sorry, I keep saying the UK. We're only Highways England, so we're only looking after English roads. I do know Wales are looking at all-lane running for their new motorway they're proposing, the M4. We've been speaking to them. And Scotland, though don't have all-lane running, their new bridge crossing is using a sort of hybrid all-lane running system on the new crossing up in Scotland. One of the big things that we've been tackling from either the Transport Select Committee or by members of the public is the emergency areas. They were originally called emergency refuge areas. We've dropped the word refuge because no one that we spoke to said, what's a refuge? So we've just made them emergency areas. I've given a slide because what we've decided to do is make them, we're going to tango them as I call it, we're painting them orange. And we're also making the signs on the side of the road informing you where these emergency areas are more visible. It is a trial at the moment, and slowly we'll run this out across current schemes, including the dynamic sections, but preferably now we're just doing the ARs. We've done, let's say, so we've done customer development and viability studies on this. And people wanted, they didn't know we couldn't see them. So this is what we've done, is to make them more visible. It is happening, it just says on there, the M3, the M5 and M23. They're currently schemes that are open with orange ERAs. If you travel on the M1 north of here, they're currently, before it opens, they're trying to get them in on 16 to 19 as well. It is planned, as I just said, to roll them out later next year. We're in a bit of a predicament that the sign there showing SOS with the telephone is an unauthorised sign. So we've got a temporary licence for it at the moment until we can get that through. I'm afraid Brexit is taking up the capacity of DFT and ministers at the moment, so it's a bit slow, but we'll hopefully get these signs through legalisation so we can use them. It's an international recognised marker to show where you can get to a place of safety. Interesting that the last picture showing the RAC van, which is an RAC van, isn't it? Behind the vehicle is, I don't know if you can see it on there, but we've put a pit stop in there as well to get the vehicle to stop right next to the RT. Hopefully it'll come up in another slide as well. So I spoke briefly on the emergency areas. Recently we went to Motorways Marsh, and your trades organisation was representative there, and I'll show you a video very shortly where you'll see them, where we wanted to get across to the industry that these ERAs, or EAs, I'm still getting used to it, are a decent size. They're actually 100 metres point to point. They have a 25 metre taper in, they have a 30 metre straight piece and a 45 metre taper out. And we did some trials to make sure that they were fit for purpose, and the exercise at Motorways in the Marsh proved that they were. I mentioned the box markings to give the pit stop to get the vehicle to stop there. We've also been working with Survive on safety advice to give to customers, but also to industry about what to advise people, but also how to operate safely. And finally, we've produced this Life on the Edge video that's available on YouTube. It was uploaded yesterday to YouTube. I'm going to show you it now. It is quite long, it's 16 minutes long. I'm going to let it run. If you're really interested, I'll let it go. If not, I'm going to stop it at a certain point and carry on with the presentation. So please enjoy this video. You're going to see 6 minutes of it minimum, and then we'll see how it goes.
Smart motorways are an increasingly common sight on England's motorway network and an area where you already work or will be working in the future. This film aims to provide you with some specific advice about smart motorways and, most importantly, how to work on them safely. Highways England is responsible for the operation and maintenance of smart motorways in England. We've been working with a number of representatives from the vehicle recovery, passenger transport and freight haulage industries to develop a set of guidelines to make working on smart motorways as safe as possible. A smart motorway uses a range of technology to actively manage the flow of traffic. This technology is controlled from a regional control centre. Control centre operators monitor traffic carefully and can activate and change signs and speed limits. This helps to keep traffic flowing freely and smoothly, reducing congestion. Previously, all motorways had a full-time hard shoulder. Now, around 1/10 don't. Smart motorways use a hard shoulder to increase traffic flow. A motorway which temporarily makes use of a hard shoulder, known as a dynamic hard shoulder, is always clearly identified with a solid white, unbroken line. Where the hard shoulder has been permanently converted into an extra lane, it is marked with a broken white line, the same as any other lane. On these motorways, when vehicles break down, they need to get into an emergency area. These emergency areas are signposted as either SOS areas or emergency refuge areas and are spaced regularly along the smart motorways. If they don't, the vehicle will be stopped in a live lane. Vehicle recovery operators are never expected to work in a live lane. As soon as the vehicle is detected by Highways England, signs and signals are set and a traffic officer or police resource is sent to control the traffic and, if needed, move the vehicle to the emergency area or deploy some traffic management to close the lane. Then and only then will a vehicle recovery operator be called in to assist. No attempt to recover a vehicle should ever be made in a live lane. There are a number of other scenarios where working on a smart motorway is a little different to working on a standard motorway. Earlier this year, Highways England invited representatives from the vehicle recovery industry and from the passenger transport and freight haulage industries to work through a number of scenarios at the Fire Services College at Norton-in-the-Marsh. The group of over 70 representatives worked through a number of common recovery scenarios on a mocked-up motorway with a marked-out emergency area. The two-day event provided some valuable insights, helped generate the agreed recovery guidelines and also helped drive some design changes to the markings used in the emergency areas.
Well, the reason we're here today is so we can work with operational partners to make sure that we get the right way of working when it comes to an emergency refuge area. So you can see that we're working in collaboration with our partners and we want the safest, most efficient solution on the network when we get breakdowns.
We're here to put our input from a tyre manufacturer's point of view as we go out and we train a lot of the guys that work at the side of the road, and obviously for them the ERAs and the live all lane running is obviously a big important part of the safety considerations when they go out and do their jobs.
After the Transport Select Committee's report, we were aware that there were some concerns from operators regarding the use of ERAs and smart motorways. We weren't sure what the problems were, if any, and we wanted to test the procedures and find a protocol that works for the safety of all the operators.
I'm here today with the IVR, Institute of Vehicle Recovery, to demonstrate different recovery methods inside the ERA bay for vulnerableness on the side of the motorway.
Today we've seen quite a few scenarios, from light recovery vehicles through to heavy recovery vehicles, and it's forming an opinion where if we interact with the Highways Agency or Highways England correctly, then yes, we can get the right results. What we must be concerned about is the operators that don't work on that highways scheme, that are ill-informed of the correct parameters to work with.
We work with these partners constantly. We all have our own procedures and ways of working. The key point today is to try and knit those in together and give everybody a mutual understanding of our capabilities and limitations of working in that environment.
From the work completed at the Fire Services College, it was agreed that 5 main recovery scenarios needed some specific and agreed guidelines to be shared and adopted across the vehicle recovery industry. These are covered in more detail next. Communication was a key factor in all scenarios. Highways England has a central number that should be used to report any breakdown, or for any recovery operator to use should they need assistance. 0300 123 5000. This central number quickly connects the recovery operator to the correct regional control centre to request assistance should it be needed, be that for signs or signals or other traffic management help, such as a rolling roadblock or traffic management lane closure. If the vehicle is already in an emergency area, you can use the orange roadside telephone at that location and get straight through to the regional control centre managing that specific motorway. What if you don't need help from Highways England? If the dynamic hard shoulder is not being used as a live running lane, then you can exit the emergency refuge area as normal and use the hard shoulder to accelerate to an appropriate speed before rejoining the carriageway.
Hello, it's Solid Recovery here.
Hiya, is it lane 1 signal we need to leave the bay? Sure, I'll get that set now. And is it yourself and the van behind you leaving? Alright, well, I'll keep an eye from here, make sure you get out safely. Alright, no problem, thank you. Bye.
If the dynamic hard shoulder is being used as a live run lane, and you can exit the emergency area safely without assistance, you should contact the regional control centre using the emergency roadside telephone and let them know that you intend to leave the emergency area. Where the broken down vehicle has been repaired, you should instruct the customer how to rejoin the carriageway safely. There will be times where motorways will be congested with traffic and red X's will be in place to close lanes. You cannot drive on the hard shoulder or a lane marked with a red X without first requesting permission. This is for your safety and for the safety of other road users and incident responders. These closed lanes not only stop traffic from using them to make the working area safe, but they are also used by Highways England to create incident access lanes. These are used to get all of the right people and equipment to the scene to help manage the incident.
Ladies and gentlemen, sorry, it does go on, it goes through each scenario. It's available if it's your part of the business where you send technicians out onto the motorway. Please use it, it's there on YouTube. There's a card that I've come up, they're again at the back of the room that you can use. The video did say that if you use this 0300 number, it'll take you through to the regional control centre. It doesn't take you through to the regional, it takes you through to the central one. So no matter where you are in England, if you ring this number, you'll get through to Highways England and they'll put you through to the right people. The ELT, if you're stopped on the side of the road, as it rightly said, will take you through directly to the control centre for that region, and they'll know exactly where you are. The advice card it's something that we give to, or we want the recovery industry to use, as well as tyre technicians, to give them sort of a flash card, safety card within their vehicles. And again, if you need more and you've got a huge fleet you need to give them to, let me know and we can get it for you. One of the things we're trying to get across to everybody, be it as an operator, be it as a private driver, or educate your own family, is never travel in a lane displaying a red X. I'll explain why. First of all, we are after driving compliance. UK motorways are the safest roads, first of all in England, it's the safest road you can travel, but also one of the safest in the world. The majority of incidents that happen on motorways are due to speed or vehicle malfunction. So obviously we want to control that. smart motorways do have speed cameras. And now we paint them yellow so you can see them. Before we didn't paint them, there was no requirement to paint them. So now we've made them lovely in yellow, and they're bolted to the side of gantries, and there's loads out there. And there's loads of people getting caught, which really, as someone who works or used to work out there, and I have colleagues work out there, and I'm sure as technicians work out there, it's just worrying that they're not even seeing the cameras and the speed limit and then still speeding. What will they see in the road? It's just worrying. But that's a personal point of view, not a Highways England point of view. I've mentioned red X's. It is an offence to drive in a lane displaying a red X, and the police will prosecute and have prosecuted for that. What we're doing as Highways England, we're developing them cameras to also be able to do digital enforcement with red X. If a red X is displayed on a gantry or on an MS4, one of the big like TV screens, you automatically get a 40 mile an hour on the rest. That's not set by an operator, that's just a default 40 mile an hour. There's obviously an obstruction, we want to slow the traffic down. So if you went through the red X at 60 mile an hour, theoretically, you can get done for red X and you get done for speeding. So that's what we're up against, you know. So hopefully there's 100 people at least in here will never do that again, or never do it, so you have done it. But what we're doing while we're waiting for that, so the police are doing their bit, but we're educating motorists. So what we're also doing, we've put ANPR cameras out, and when we see people going through the red X's, and I'm sure you've been out there and they're like sheep, one goes and everybody follows, you'll get picked up by what we call ANPR cameras, and you'll get a naughty letter through the post. And basically it's an education letter. It's telling you that we will be enforcing this shortly. It's also telling you the dangers you're putting the workforce in, or other people in. It could be someone broken down. We've also got a mobile CCTV unit that we can put out. The emergency areas do get misused. Foreign HGV drivers use them for all sorts of activities. And not what they're meant for, as well as other drivers. They are covered by CCTV, so we see all sorts happening in them. Stuff that I can't tell you about here because I'd embarrass myself. But what people do on the side of the road is terrible. So we're catching them and we're sending them naughty letters. It is an offence to stop in an ERA unless it's an emergency. And again, police are enforcing that, but there's not many police cars out on the motorway, so it does happen, but it is a rarity. The cameras for ERA misuse are proving quite difficult because we have to prove it was an emergency, but when a car pulls in and then drives away, it normally, and we see the phone in the hand, they're normally making a phone call or just had a toilet break, so that's not an emergency, I'm afraid. So, one of the other things we're developing is something called stop vehicle detection. It was mentioned on a video, the Transport Select Committee, and one of my directors, the chief engineer, agreed that what we would do is we would put out on our network a detection system that would pick up vehicles that had stopped. We found a product, it's a lovely radar type product. It's displayed on that bottom, in that yellowish area on the gantry. And we are currently rolling that out on the M25. So if a vehicle does break down, it's not made it for an ERA, or there is a road traffic collision, that within, I think it's seconds of it happening, the detector will pick it up, notify the control room, and then they can take appropriate action. It's then envisaged that we'll roll it out across all areas. There's only one supplier at the moment, so we don't like to put all our eggs in one basket, so we're looking for another supplier. So if you're into radars or technology, start developing and get in touch with Highways England. So stop vehicle detection. It won't set signs and signals, but it could. But we are looking at it that will give a message that obstruction reported, slow down, which will come up on the what we call as an MS4, but it's like the TV screen there with the yellow dot is on. So what are we doing as a company? We're trying to educate people about smart motorways. I'm afraid the government, we're a government company, we don't have the funds to hit major TV, but we have been doing education videos. We've been doing about Red X non-compliance. Again, it's available on YouTube. It's been done on radio, as in not the video, but adverts, and we do it on social media as well. We've done what is called VMSL, Variable Mandatory Speed Limits. This is where the speed changes on the control. So we're trying to educate people about that. And also, with your part of the industry, we've done what is called the vehicle check advert, which we'll shortly see. And it is about checking your vehicle before travelling. Just out of interest, I'm hoping it's not going to play the video because I've got the statistics to show you. Here we go. I asked for this from an analytical department. I can't go into the detail because I don't know the detail, but it just shows the tyre-related incidents that we experience, that we know about. I've got to emphasise that we know about. We don't know about every incident that happens on our network, because it's not just motorways. We look after the all-purpose trunk road network as well. So though incidents are on the decline, tyre incidents as a proportion are on an increase. I don't know if you can see it on the bottom in the percentage. So we're really keen that people do take care of their tyres. I think days have got, I'll stand corrected, the road is not damaging the tyres, not the motorway so much. I know some of the rural roads can be quite shocking, but it's not the road that's damaging the tyres as far as motorways are concerned. So it is about people's just own maintenance of the tyres. We did some work around 2013, 2014, looking why we had an increase. Austerity, I think is the word that comes in there. People were buying second-hand tyres, people were running them till they had no tread, all sorts. I'm sure that was what was happening, and maintenance was quite low on vehicles. So we did see an increase. As you can see, incidents are on the decline. I haven't got the figures for this year, so this came from our analytical department. So I said we were trying to educate people. I don't know if you've seen this video before. It is, if you want to run it in your show, in any of your offices, or where you've got members of the public can see it. It's available on YouTube, just use it. It's what I thought, one of the better adverts we've ever come up with. So I hope you enjoy it. If you'll play.
This is your captain speaking. We're going to skip all the pre-flight checks and proceed with takeoff. I've given the tyres a kick and I think we've got enough fuel to get there. And the oil warning light hasn't come on yet, so buckle up and enjoy the flight.
You wouldn't fly without the proper checks, so why drive without them? Always check your tyres, fuel and oil.